On August 30th, the wait is over. The album Haven is finally going to fully be released. Now, listen, it's been a long time since as fans, we've gotten to see these guys, but they've been busy and they are back with a vengeance. Joining me now from Marianas Trench, please welcome Josh, Ian, Matt, and Mike. How are you?
Great.
I really
Thank
like
you.
your.
I love
like
the
your-
drama.
I like your radio voice.
Yeah, there was
Thank you.
that was an epic intro.
I was like, what's going to happen? What's coming?
Very short
Oh, it's
story-ish.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that is the perfect beginning to talk about A Normal Life, the first single from
That
this
is
album.
a wacky one. That is a wacky one.
When I first went to listen to it, I thought I was prepared. I mean, I've listened to music before. I've listened to your music before. But that song is a roller coaster, and I was not strapped in, and I love it.
Thank you.
Where did the seed of this idea first come from? Like, how does a song like this come together? Because it is so grand.
It's very grand. It's a very ambitious big swing. I think we've sort of been known for having these sort of larger than life opening and closings to albums, and I think first of all, it had been a while since we'd done a record, and then I made the choice when in between the Marianas records, I did a solo record, and I made sure not to do a song like that on the solo record because I was like, that's something that people associate as a Marianas Trench thing. So I think I also kind of like really had one to get out of my system. Like I'd had a couple extra years of not having worked on something like that for a while, so I really wanted to take a really big swing. And the other thing that was important to me with that song was like, first of all, you're setting the stage for the album. So I want to hear like at least a little bit of a preview of all the types of sounds we're going to hear on the album. So there's like a bit of synths, there's a bit of orchestra, there's a bit of rock guitars, there's a bit of poppy stuff. It's kind of all thrown in there. There's the vocal thing that we do. And there's a little pieces of all of that in there. And I also was really conscious of wanting to make like, anytime there's a sort of protagonist represented on the record, there's like a little motif, a little melody that comes in, just like in a movie. Like, you know, whenever Indiana Jones saves the day, we're definitely going to hear da 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 or whatever, right? So I had this little 4-note motif that I knew was going to be showing up throughout the album. So it was very important that like pretty much the very first thing you hear on the album is a version of that motif. And then as the album continues, you hear sometimes that's the chord progression, sometimes it's the vocal melody, sometimes it's in the strings, sometimes it's in the bass. Like at some point, everybody plays that melody. So I wanted to make sure to really set the stage with that to at least subconsciously plant that melody in people's heads. So hopefully they will start to notice it as the record progresses.
Okay, so did you go into it going, okay, now I'm going to sit down and write the big song and the song that ties the whole album together and the song, or does it start with lyrics or an idea of what that theme that's going to run through it is? Like, how does it build into?
Yeah, that's a good question. I did have the motif part first. I had that was actually a little melody that I came up with while I was working on the solo record, and I saved it for the Marianas record because I just thought that it was right for that. So I saved it for that. And then outside of that, Normal Life was more or less the first song that we started working on for the album. We had one song kind of half done, but it was the first like major undertaking on the record, I would say. And in past albums, usually the first couple songs go really slow because usually I am out of shape as a songwriter because we've been on the road touring the past album and all of that. This time it was like I had just finished another album and I felt very in shape, for lack of a better phrase. So I felt like we could just hit the ground running. And the very first thing we did was that song, and I didn't know where it was going to go. It was sort of like, okay, I've got an idea for the first minute, and let's work on that for a while, for like a week, and then the following week, hopefully by then I'll know where the second minute is going to go, and we just kind of continued on.
Well, that kind of song is the one that would come in pieces because it's not like verse, chorus, verse, chorus. So.
It was super inspiring to hear, though, because when the opener was close to being finished, you're like, ooh, it was a very exciting way to kick off the album. It just made you really put gas on the fire.
Sort of set the tone.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was great.
Yeah, my eyes almost popped out of my head when you look. Okay, here's what I've got so far, and I'm like, oh my god, are we running? Like, what's going on?
Yes.
It feels very, very like you're in the movie.
It's the very beginning. And I have a lot of like nature sounds and binaural beats and crap on my playlist. And so at first it's like this rain sound. And for a minute I thought I hit the wrong thing. And then
it's a rude awakening if you think you're about to listen to one of those spa relaxation things.
Yeah.
And then my vocal comes and just,
you're about to get jacked up. So don't. But yeah, and then it's like, it becomes almost like an overture sound. And it is a whole. I mean, I keep saying it's a whole journey, which I know is your intention. The whole album, we're going on a big journey, but it honestly is one of those songs. Like, it feels like this could be a big moment in a musical. Like, you can almost.
It's visual.
It's so visual. Yeah. I can see.
Yeah.
That our protagonist.
Yeah.
Struggling through.
I'm glad because that's what I was hoping. And the other thing that I felt like, you know how certain movies start with. Let me think of one. How most James Bond movies, for example, start. Usually, the opening scene in a James Bond movie is we're seeing the climax from some story that we don't know, and then that's not usually all that related to the plot that follows it. We're just seeing him at the end of some sort of adventure, and then the credits roll, right? The opening credits roll. So I kind of wanted at least the first minute of this song to feel like that, like we're seeing the end of something else leading into the beginning of something, and to try and keep that very, very visual. And like, so that was even with like the weather sounds going in there and stuff to really sort of like put you in an environment. At least that was the intent.